Welcome back. It's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today from McFarlane Toys in their DC Multiverse line, we are featuring Jim Gordon as Batman. And yes, we're talking about that Jim Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, Batman's confidant. So if you are a younger viewer, or if you didn't read the comic books from, I think, 8 years ago, you might be unfamiliar with this version of Batman. So back in, I think it was 2015, there was a storyline called Batman Endgame. And I think Endgame kind of finished which resulted in kind of like the supposed deaths of like the Joker and Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. Following Batman Endgame, we were introduced to the story of Superheavy, which introduced Jim Gordon as Batman. I believe the story was kind of like Gotham still needed a hero, and I think it was like Gotham PD in cooperation, I think, with like one of the corporations. They kind of produced their own version of Batman, and which is what we have here. And I think it's almost kind of like RoboCop in a way. It's like the ideal candidate had to have been, someone that the people could trust, someone that was hardworking and loyal. And no one embodied those qualities more than Jim Gordon himself. When they first talked about the storyline, I was kind of rolling my eyes, but then once I got into it, it made sense. Gordon's a veteran. He's battle ready. He's grizzled. He's been in the trenches, and it was kind of cool because it was kind of like you got to see him, someone with a heart of gold, taking up the role of as Batman. He didn't have the youthfulness of Bruce Wayne. For him, certain tasks were kind of physically hard for him to do, so he had to adjust. And it was just pretty cool. It was kind of cool seeing Jim Gordon as Batman and having kind of like this like technical support team behind him, and it made for a really, really interesting story. So that's what we have here. We have Jim Gordon as Batman. And you'll notice on our left here, we have the first Superheavy figure, much older action figure from years ago. This was produced by Mattel, and this was their take on the character. We have Batman Superheavy, Jim Gordon. And it's kind of cool because the McFarlane one, much like the Mattel one, it comes with the alternate portrait. If anything, I think the Mattel one's portrait's a little bit better because this Jim Gordon has the mohawk, where this one has the mohawk, but I don't think it's as mohawky as the Mattel one. He has the Batarang gun, and likewise the McFarlane one does also. And it's cool, the McFarlane one gives us multiple hand options, which you could probably carry over onto other action figures as well. So it's pretty sweet. It's kind of cool to see two different interpretations of the same character. And I'm a fan of Jim Gordon, and you throw Jim Gordon in the Batman suit and I become even a bigger fan. So it's awesome. This figure here, it's much older. It came out back in 2016. This was part of DC Comics, or Mattel's DC Comics Multiverse line, which was kind of the successor to their much beloved DC Classics Universe line of action figures. The Multiverse line was slightly different than DC Classics in that there were much more unique sculpts, much more detailed, and I think the figures were slightly smaller in scale, but it still hovered around that 6-inch mark. And you got a fantastic line of figures. And of course, you got the Build-A-Figure, and this one belonged to the King Shark Wave. And this is an amazing figure, and it goes for a lot of money on the secondary market. It's something I wanted at the time, but I had the hardest time finding all these pieces. So the Build-A-Figure King Shark still escapes me. But this is a great figure, And I think I actually reviewed this in my back catalog of videos, so you might want to hunt that down. But today's focus is going to be on the McFarlane one, so let's get started with that. Alright, so we have Jim Gordon from Superheavy as Batman. It's kind of misleading because it says here Jim Gordon as Batman, Batman Endgame. But actually, Batman Endgame, Superheavy takes place post Endgame. So I think this should be Batman Superheavy, not Endgame. Alternate portrait, multiple hands, the Batarang gun. We have some nice artwork from artist Greg Capullo from Superheavy. Jim Gordon as Batman. As you can tell, he has a much leaner frame than Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's kind of a slightly bulkier guy, much younger than Jim Gordon. It seemed kind of odd at first when they talked about the story, and when I heard that they're going to have Jim Gordon as Batman, I'm like, how does that work? Jim Gordon's much older. Because we've seen in certain stories, the way Jim Gordon sometimes interpreted, it's like a much older, not necessarily father figure, but, he's someone that could clearly be like Bruce's uncle or dad, age-wise. But the way they kind of introduced him in Superheavy, keep in mind, Superheavy took place during the New 52. So the New 52 is kind of like a jump start and reimagining of the DC universe. Some characters saw a lot of changes, and in the case of Jim Gordon, I think they actually made him younger than in the previous version of the DC universe. Included is the trading card and the display base. I've said this before, it makes me crazy how they tie these figures down with so many plastic ties. Once in a blue moon, you might get the one figure that just only has the one tie held around the chest or waist, but for some figures, they feel the need to, like, really, really strap the figure down. Okay, first off, I want to take a look at the alternate portrait. Let's take a look at the Jim Gordon head. Yeah, it's nicely done. Nice paint application on the eyes and the lips. The flesh tone's nice. Like I said, I kind of wish he had more of an actual like mohawk as opposed to like a flat top. But then again, I could be wrong. Maybe this might be more accurate to the comic book. It's been 8 years since I've read the comic, so. But the visage is still there. I'm sure if you saw this on the Batman body, you'd know what it is. And I'm curious about how easy the heads swap out. All right, it's not that bad. The dumbbell here, it's a much smaller ball at the top, so it makes removing the head pretty easy. And then placing it on, it's a little stiff. You might want to soften the head first in like hot water to soften the plastic, but there we go. We have Jim Gordon decked out as Batman. He's Batman representing the Gotham PD, but with corporate interests. So I think it was corporate. It was either corporate interests or like military interests. But it's cool. I think the figure really embodies the spirit of Superheavy Batman. It has the right build. He's not too bulky. This almost feels like the same body as we've seen like with, for example, the Impulse figure from McFarlane Toys. But yeah, it's a nice shade of black. The gold or the yellow on his chest and arms and utility belt it's nice. I like the nice contrast between the black and the yellow. Unfortunately, the holster is non-functioning. It would have been nice if you could actually put the Batarang gun in here, but that's not the case. The one hand does come equipped with the trigger finger, so if you want to put the Batarang gun in there, it'll work. And then let's get the Batman head on there. Decent Batman head. If you wanted to, you could use this and swap it onto another Batman figure. It's a very, standard look for Batman. There's nothing here that's remarkably different. So this would gel well on any Batman figure. If there's a McFarlane Batman figure and you're not too keen on the head, this one might be better. But keep in mind, though, that the socket here might not be the right size. since this has a very small ball on the dumbbell joint. There it goes, pops on easily. If you've handled the McFarlane Impulse figure, the articulation is fantastic, and that shares the same body as this. Much leaner build. You can emote him in really dynamic poses. You know, all the articulations there. It's what you come to expect from some of the newer McFarlane figures. Alright, I can't recommend this enough. It's awesome. If you're a fan of Jim Gordon as Batman, excuse me, this is the way to go. Okay, let's wrap this one up. I'm like I'm like losing my voice. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.